Catherine Schneider from the Fitchburg Historical Society, and today we are so pleased to have Mayor Aaron Richardson with us to talk about what it's like to be mayor of Fitchburg and what's going on in that area and how his term of office, how is he looking at that now. So Aaron, why don't we begin with your deep family roots in Fitchburg, of course, and maybe to speaking to that a little bit, and then the question, did that influence your deciding to run for mayor of the city of Fitchburg?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Really excited to do this. And yeah, very deep family roots. I'm the fifth generation of my family to live here in Fitchburg. My nephews are the sixth generation. It absolutely impacted my decision to run for mayor. It's something that growing up here out on Whalen Road, kind of by Apple Garden, if you're familiar with that, I'm sure people watching this are familiar with that. It was out in the country back then. It's still actually in the country. So it was even more out in the middle of nowhere when I was growing up. And that's something that I wanted to move back here in Fitchburg when I was buying a house, looking to buy a house. And so I, did that way back when. And actually, you're familiar with the house I bought. It's your in-laws' house, actually. Great house, and it's really been for me. It's something that I've really enjoyed. And so, I bought my house and actually joined the Parks Commission shortly after that. I had worked in the Parks Department for one summer in college. I participated in the rec programs growing up, coach pitch, t-ball, things like that. And so I did that for 9 years. And then after that, I had always thought about, getting involved in the government, maybe in city council. In college up at UW Green Bay, I was actually involved in student government up there. And so I had that experience and really enjoyed it. Opportunity came forward there was a open seat. The incumbent was running for mayor. And so some people I'd worked with on the Parks Commission asked me if I would consider doing that. And I actually had considered that because it was so important to me to do that. And then after a couple of years, a couple of people I worked with on the council asked me to run for mayor. And growing up there, somewhere where I want to live long term, absolutely influenced that. I don't think that it took much convincing, to be honest. It's something that I was definitely interested in doing. And I knew there's a lot of big things coming up. And I know we're going to talk about some of those, but I knew how much impact it's been 4 years and how much those 4 years are going to impact the city for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like one step at a time, one thing led to another, and here you are, the mayor of the city of Fitchburg, and the encouragement you had from others too, who saw your interest in the city. Well, that brings us to the mayor, and can you fill us in on what are the duties and responsibilities of the mayor? I think many people kind of are a little vague of what does that involve.
Yeah, the mayor here in Fitchburg is considered part-time, but there's definitely times when it feels like it's full-time. The biggest thing, I think the most important thing we do is put together a budget each year. And we try to do that to keep taxes reasonable because we want it to be affordable to live here, but also making sure that we're accounting for the growth that we have in Fitchburg. And there's a lot of growth. So making sure that we're also growing the right way. So it's a lot of providing direction. It's working with our city administrator, who is Chad Brecklin right now, working with staff, going to a lot of meetings. There's a lot of that, signing a lot of paperwork. There's a big part of that. But I really think that it's trying to really be the person who sets the tone for the city and for the council. And so that's something that I really wanted to do, is make sure that we're professional, that we're doing what we can to care about people and trying to balance the needs. We're a very fast growing city in terms of population and businesses, but there's also a lot of needs here. And that's always the biggest challenge because we just don't have as many resources to do everything that we'd like to do. I wish we could do so much more than we do, and we can't. There's a lot of restrictions that the state government puts on us. However, it's trying to figure out what are our priorities and how can we go forward with those while providing just a great place to live, work, play, and do all those things as well.
So the budget is really a major portion of what you spend time probably thinking about, preparing for, and proposing,
Yeah.
and where the priorities need to be in terms of budgeting.
Yeah, it's
Well,
almost a year-round job now, actually. We actually are talking about kind of the first steps right now, and that those are utilizing some of the ARPA funds that the city got from COVID. That's when we got millions of dollars from the state and from the national government. And so we're using those. We're also using money that we have from some very successful TIDs that we're closing. So we're actually starting that right now. That leads into our CIP, which leads into the operating budget, which ends in early November. So it's not quite 12 months now, but we're doing some things almost year round.
no, you keep busy. You do not have a lack of a lack of things to do, I'm sure. Well, you've been mayor since 2018. So what issues stand out to you as maybe the most significant ones that you've faced during your tenure in office?
Whew, there's a lot of challenging things that have come forward. And it really even started off right after I was elected in 2019. Is, a couple months later, we unfortunately had a person who was killed here in the city, and really just trying to assure people that this was a target event. We are working on finding who was responsible and assuring residents that that's going to happen. It's just a horrible thing when something like that happens, but it was kind of a baptism by fire in some ways. We eventually, our police department was able to identify who was responsible. We made some arrests, and so they do a great job, and that makes things a lot easier. But then, there's a weird 1 year term. So after a year, I was reelected, and right away after the election, COVID hit, provided lots of challenges, unexpected. And one of the things I'm really proud about is that throughout COVID, we did not have any layoffs. We didn't have any furloughs for our staff. We were able to keep people working. People gave them that reassurance. There was so much uncertainty at that point in time. We didn't know what was going on. We immediately pivoted to allowing most staff to work from home. That was a big challenge, and we were able to do that and get them the resources that they needed. We were able to then actually also convert all of our meetings to online as well. And so we did online meetings for a while. And then we went to a hybrid option, which is actually what we're going to be doing going forward. And so really changing how we operate as a city, but still providing great service. And that's where I really credit our staff. Our staff is so phenomenal. They do such a great job. They make my life a lot easier. And so, that's such a big thing. But we had so many other big projects. We had the town of Madison annexation this year, which was a big, very complicated project, something that doesn't happen very often in the state. The town of Madison went away. We got about a quarter of what was left. And there's just a lot of moving pieces. It impacted every one of our departments, but getting the resources that we needed for that neighborhood is a big piece. It's an area that has been underserved by the town for a long time. And so being able to I really think, seamlessly transition. A lot of people know that we're here, we're trying to improve what we can in that area. We're improving their park, we're providing them better services. They have access to our great things like our library, our rec department. And these are things that senior center, that's another one that's really a big thing as well. So those are all big things. The redevelopment of Fish Hatchery Road, that was another big, huge project that we were able to get done, at least the northern part of Fish Hatchery Road. And so a lot of big projects. And we've actually also set ourselves up for the future as well. One of the things we're working on this year is development of 2 new neighborhood plans, which is really going to help our future growth. We need to keep providing opportunities for growth and expansion. And so that process has started. We provided money for that. But really the biggest challenge is that there's a lot of other things that we'd like to do, and we just don't have the resources for that. And so trying to balance that is always a big challenge.
Well, the balancing and then all the demands that are there and meeting them, and then having this extraordinary event of COVID come along and meet that challenge, to know that the city was able to pivot, and take care of all of these things and bring in the new addition from the town of Madison. Lots on your plate over these last few years. Well, as you look back, what's given you the greatest satisfaction from your time in office? What would you point to?
Probably the greatest compliment that been able to have is that, I did announce that I'm not running for reelection, but to have the staff and the residents kind of be mad at me almost that I'm not sticking around and, ask me to stay, that to me was probably the greatest satisfaction because it just said I like to think that says that I've done a pretty good job in this role. And so having people, tell me that they wish I was staying on, that they're going to miss me, that to me, I guess, is probably the greatest satisfaction because it means that all the things that we did, and there's a lot of challenges like we've talked about, that we were able to handle it, pretty well. And one of the things, there's so many other things we haven't talked about, including replacing our city administrator and all kinds of other challenges throughout the city as well. But to me, the greatest satisfaction is just that even I'm kind of be able to go out on my own terms, and then everyone can do that. But people wish that I was sticking around because they've told me that they thought I've done a good job in the role, and that just means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's the greatest compliment a person can get on their job. They want you to stay on. So thank you, Aaron. And as you look ahead, maybe to the city of Fitchburg, even not being mayor, perhaps into the future, but you know so much about the city working as mayor. What would you say would be the challenges, say, in the next 5 to 10 years that the city is going to find will be the greatest challenges for them?
Yeah, the biggest challenges I think for a long time is just going to be getting the resources to keep providing the great services we do for our residents. The state has not given us more money for a long time, and they also handcuff how much that we can raise our own money. And so you look at our staff right now, and we're able to add over 2 dozen staff during my time as mayor, which is needed, and I'm very proud of. I think we've impacted every department in the city and provided them more resources. But going forward, we need to continue to grow, but we also need to figure out how are we going to do the things we need to. I know things like our fire department, they need to be uh, really have a higher percentage of career firefighters. We rely a lot on paid on call volunteers. Well, they get paid. They're volunteers, they get paid, but we rely a lot on that. It's harder and harder for all communities to have enough of those paid on call staff to cover hours. So that means we need to transition to more of a at least 50% or 75% amount of our staffing is from career firefighters. But that's, at least 7 or 8 firefighters, maybe more. That's expensive. Our police department, that they need more people. We just added the town of Madison, like we talked about. That adds more challenges. We have new neighborhoods. And so we need more people in that department as well, these public safety things. We're going to need another ambulance in 2 or 3 years as well. And a full time, if it's a 24-hour ambulance, that's about 7 people to run another ambulance 24/7, 7 days a week. These are significant dollar amounts. The Fish Hatchery Road, from where we stopped reconstruction further south, that needs to be redone in the next 5 years, probably. That's an extremely expensive road to rebuild. Where are these resources coming from? And so that's really, I think, the biggest challenge going forward is that we have a lot of demands on our resources and a lot of other things we'd like to do, but what are the core things that we provide our residents and how do we enhance those?
Mhm. Thank you for explaining that so clearly that it's like our own budgets in our homes, isn't it? Where are the resources going to come from for the growing demand, say on a growing family, for instance, and where to provide, how to provide for that. I'm going to ask you hopefully a fun question now, Aaron, and that is, could you describe the city of Fitchburg to someone who's never been here before in 50 words or less?
Oh no, are you gonna count the words?
No, I promise not to count the words.
Okay, asking a politician to be short and sweet is a challenge.
But you can do it.
Yeah, I think, Fitchburg is a diverse community, a growing community, and a great place where you can not only live, but you can work and you can also play. And that to me speaks to just a great community that's very caring and somewhere that I obviously think is phenomenal and somewhere that I have chosen to live and a lot of people, other people have as well. And I think there's a reason for that. And I think that's why you see so much growth because it is such a great place to live.
Very good. You did it. Thank you. And your positive attitude just comes forth when you describe your city, Aaron. Thank you. Well, I'm going to take you into kind of a personal part to your being mayor. And from your personal perspective, how have you grown and changed through serving as the mayor of Fitchburg?
I think there's a lot of ways that I've grown and changed. I think one of those would be that I have a lot deeper understanding, obviously, of how the city operates and really how all cities operate. And when I was on city council, I thought I knew what was happening and what we did and how everything worked together. When I became mayor, I realized, ooh, I knew like 25% of what I thought I knew. So I think that's a big thing. I think, just in terms of leadership as well. And one of the things I said to actually a high school group from Verona that asked me to speak is that a student really picked up on is that, when you're leading people, it's important to know what's important to the people that you're leading because what's important to them needs to be important to you as well. And so that's one of the things that I've tried to do a lot of. Another thing I've tried to do is really put a focus on diversity and inclusion and doing things like find the Pride flag at City Hall. We had never done that. We had never recognized Pride Month before. In 2023, for the first time, Juneteenth is going to be a city holiday, and that's something that's new as well, and I think important. And so, that just things like that. We actually created an employee group for our employees focused on diversity and inclusion and equity. And so I actually ask them questions all the time on, okay, what do they think about, this or that, and get input from them and making sure that that's an important piece as well. So I think for myself, growth and change, it's learning more about this city, but also learning more about leading people and the right way to do that. And I hope I've done a good job of that. I think that it's been just a great opportunity for myself and something that is, the skills that I've been able to take and develop over these 4 years. And really, it's longer than that because I was on council for 2 years before that and on Parks Commission. All those things really are helpful, really, in everywhere I go from here forward in my career.
One thing builds on another, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
everything you learn increases your ability to handle the next challenge, particularly all the things you have learned as mayor. Quite a
Mhm.
learning curve. Well, to just ask my last question for today, I wanted to know what your hopes are for the city as we begin this new year of 2023.
I think for me, it's that we continue to just be a great place and we continue to have community of things that bring people together. We were able to start the Fitchburg Festival of Speed during my time here in Fitchburg. We have events like Concerts of McKee that are really popular, and I want to continue doing those things and recognizing the people that make the city so great. One of the things that I did as mayor is I created what's called the Mayoral Awards, and those are something that I created because I wanted to recognize people who make this such a great place to be. And so we recognized one resident of the city, we recognize one business in the city, and we also recognize a department in the city so that you really get a feel for understanding too of who are these people that are making this such a great place to be. And so we've recognized some great people. It's a challenge for me to only recognize one in each one of those categories because there are so many people that are worthy and deserving of these recognitions and awards. And I think that's going to continue, and that's what I hope can continue. I think that one of the things I'd like to think that we've done is we got the ship kind of going in the right direction, and whoever it is that is the mayor after me, I'd like to think that we put them in a great place for them to be successful as well. And so that a year from now, you can talk to whoever the new mayor is, and it's been a great first year for them, and that they were really set up for success because of the things that we've been able to do.
Right. Can't ask for much more than leaving things in great shape for the next successor who comes after you, Mayor. Thank you. Well, I just want to say my great appreciation for this time with you, Mayor, to just go over where you've been, what's been going on with your term of office, and thank you for your service to the people of Fitchburg and your commitment to the city and all the ways you have served it through the years. So thank you so much. And then I'd just like to remind people from the Fitchburg Historical Society's perspective that we have a wonderful website for you to check out that the mayor's interview will be on, as well as on Talking Fitchburg. We'll have it on our website, and that is fitchburghistory.org. So we thank everyone for their interest in the interview this afternoon. So thank you all.